You're watching Plant Identification Through Personal Investigation with Angeline Whitmire. This plant portrait is for flowering dogwood, Cornus, Florida. The spring blossoms of flowering dogwood are so striking that the small to medium-sized native tree is often grown as a landscape specimen plant. It also brightens the early spring woods in eastern and central North America. Let's look at these beautiful white flowers. Well, actually, the white portions of the flower are bracts, not the petals at all. The true flowers are in the center and are a yellowish-green color. Now, let's study those small flowers in the center. Here they are, still in the bud stage. One of the flowers is barely open, while another bud is beginning to expand. The 1/4 inch flower has 4 yellowish-green petals and 4 stamens. Anthers extend beyond the flower's curled petals. The extended anthers glow in bright sunlight. Flowers which have been open a while have stamens with darker anthers. Fresh flowers have lightly colored anthers. The flower's pistil rises in the center. Its stigma looks flat on top. Here's a pollinator crawling around on the flowers. Check out the pistils rising above flowers whose stamens have died. This image shows a mix of flowering dogwood flowers in different phases, some fresh, some dying. Sometimes a late frost or freeze impacts the white bracts, and they begin turning brown earlier than expected. The white bracts may turn brown and curl up, even before all the interior flowers have bloomed. Over the next weeks, we'll see which flowers were successfully fertilized. Initially, the brown bracts fall off. Then the dried flower petals fall away. What remains, tucked under the leaves, is the tight cluster of green calyces, which contain the ovaries. The ones which begin to swell indicate which flowers were fertilized. The other smaller calyces stick around for a long time before eventually drying up. By mid to late summer, the developing fruits begin to turn color, first yellow, then orange. By fall, the flowering dogwood fruits have turned a bright red. These red berries are referred to as drupes. If you find a tree covered with red fruits, you know that tree had an incredible spring when it was covered with flowers. The widely elliptical leaves of flowering dogwood are entire. That is, the margins are smooth. The leaf blade apex is pointed, while its base has been called broadly wedge-shaped or rounded. The venation is pinnate. The lateral veins curve to follow the leaf edge and point toward the leaf blade tip. Flowering dogwood leaves grow oppositely along a stem or branch. They have a relatively short petiole or leaf stalk. Summer leaves are medium to dark green. During the summer, while the fruits are developing, the tree grows new flower buds for next year. Gradually, the flower buds assume their distinctive overall flat-topped globular shape. By looking at a flowering dogwood in the summer, you can predict how many flowers it may have in the upcoming spring. The green leaves acquire a red tinge during the fall. Leaves may turn a blended yellow and red color before turning a deep red. Some flowering dogwood leaves eventually turn a burgundy color. The glorious fall leaf color is another reason people use this tree in a landscape. Birds and squirrels enjoy eating the red fruits. We may find some fruits drying up during the fall season if they are not eaten. The deciduous tree's leaves drop off until we are left with the flower buds and leaf buds for next spring. These make it easy to identify flowering dogwood during the winter season. This is the time to observe the leaf scars, which are opposite each other. We can also see the opposite growth pattern with the smaller twigs as well as the branches. Another winter season identifying characteristic is the tree's bark. Twigs tend to be red-tinged or purplish. Branches are gray and look twisty due to the way the prior year's twigs grew upwards. Older branches retain the gray color as the bark develops fissures or cracks. The flowering dogwood's main trunk becomes checkered as the tree grows larger. During late winter or early spring, sap rises in the tree and buds swell. Notice the leaf scars from last year, as well as this year's leaf buds, which are just below the globe-shaped flower bud. Flower buds swell. See how much fatter the flower bud looks than the leaf bud? Flower bud scales begin to separate, and we can just see the real flower buds in the center. As the flower scales grow larger, we can see how they become the bracts for the cluster of flower buds in the center. When they first spread apart, the bracts are green, and they soon turn a creamy yellow. Now the flowering dogwood tree is in its first stage of flowering with its creamy-looking flowers. Of course, we know these are not the true flowers in bloom at this point. Concurrently with the flower buds swelling, the leaf buds also begin to swell. Leaves emerge from between the pair of leaf bud scales. Do you see how the leaves are in pairs, opposite each other? New leaves grow at the tips of twigs and branches. They also grow just beneath the new flower bracts. Leaves continue growing. While the new season's flowers begin to bloom. This is Angeline. Thank you for watching and learning about Cornus, Florida, also known as flowering dogwood. Visit identifythatplant.com for more images of flowering dogwood, for a blog post comparing the fruits of flowering dogwood with spicebush fruits, for plant identification resources, and for information about how you can confidently master the skill of correct plant identification.